Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Rider Town Radio. And it is a two-man show once again. No idea where our third guy is. He's run off as usual, but that's okay. We're used to it by now.
Yeah.
So, on today's program, we have Ghost 45, Zyuogher 26, Ultraman Orb 7, and we're going to actually talk about Dino Charge Episode 9, or Super Charge, I should say, Episode 9. Frickin' subtitles. Can't they just stick to one title for fuck's sake? Stupid Nick. I blame them.
Yeah.
And as our special topic, we'll be talking about the Legend Rider Soul series because a certain pair of characters from that have been showing up in Ghost for some reason.
Yeah, it's gonna be weird, and I have two thoughts about that.
It should be interesting to see what we think of that. But yeah, so without further ado, let's get on to the Ghosts. And we join Adele in his crazy attempt at a rise to power. Basically, this is a continuation from last episode.
Yeah.
In the middle of him getting filled with laser beams. Which, apparently, if you're connected to him long enough, it starts overriding your face.
And even to people that aren't connected, like Igor.
Yep, and I'm just sitting here, so he's borrowing the plan from the Master from the end of time. I take it you don't watch Doctor Who.
Nope.
Basically, there was one episode where the Master got his hands on a machine and used it to turn every person in the world into a copy of himself. So you literally just see everyone's faces shaking like crazy, and then suddenly it's the Master in their clothes. So lots of cross-dressing.
Yeah.
It was so weird. And we also had a weird scene of Adele asking Takaru to join him and protect the world inside of him.
It wasn't really asking. It was more like you'll be able to still protect the world after I devour your soul. You'll protect it as my minion. Ha 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 ha. Bad guy banter.
It was just Adele has just lost his damn mind.
Just weird.
Yeah, Adele has lost his mind. My note for that was how is Takaru going to protect a world from inside of Adele if Adele becomes the world? I don't understand. Your logic is flawed here. Or it's a translation problem. I don't know which.
Because, he's got the flashlight.
Wrong show.
I know. I didn't want to make the other joke because that one's not part of this show. Or their universe.
Yeah. And in more Adele stupidity, he's still continuing to ignore the obvious the Ganmeisers are becoming their own thing.
Yeah.
It's so how long till the Ganmeisers just flat out stab him in the back and try and become the bad guys?
I totally think what's going to happen is something along the lines of they're going to backstab him by they're going to take over him, maybe.
I could totally see that.
Or they're just going to kill him and turn into some weird endgame monster boss bullshit that's going to end up needing another rider to come in and save them for plot reasons.
That... Yeah, something weird like that. And I love how our heroes decide, okay, we need to go and try and get rid of Adele. Let's go to the Ganma world. And how are they going to do it? They're going to try to use the monolith like a gate, like what happened to Kanon and Makoto.
Yep. Because that was a smart idea.
Yeah. And speaking of Makoto, his clone now has the Deep Spectre icon.
Yay! More useless fights, and now you can't tell them apart.
Which we see later on as Makoto is for some reason thinking, hey, I can connect to Ganmeisers because my power is based off of them. And then his double shows up.
Yeah, a thing I probably should have realized a while ago when it was more relevant than it is now. Oh well.
I know, it's like the plot's trying to catch up to itself. It's like, oh yeah, this stuff, we need to fix this, and so on.
Yeah, if he figured that out and he solved the problem maybe 5 to 10 episodes before this.
Yeah, he probably could have. And
it would just be Super Adele trying to figure out a way to go even beyond the Great Eye, and that's what the final arc is.
Yeah. And we also have a weird scene, sticking with the Makoto theme, of Dapper Makoto trying to kill Kanon with a very creepy smile, and he doesn't do it for some reason. He's like held back by something.
Yeah, I think it's supposed to be kind of like because they're technically both connected now because of the Deep Spectre icon. He's starting to regain. He's regaining feelings that Spectre has,
He's
so he
basically
doesn't want to kill Cannon because it's his sister.
he's basically gaining emotions.
Yeah, he's pulling a chase. Speaking
This
of which, of the whole Dark Makoto having the Deep Spectre icon, I was really hoping that was going to be a bigger plot point than it was. But
nope,
like when they're fighting the God Misers and Deep Spectre just comes in, I was like, be the bad guy, stab him in the back, stab him in the back, stab him in the back.
nope.
Fuck
It's
you.
nope. It's just Gonmeiser create a copy of the Deep Spectre icon, hand it to
I was
Ganma
like when they
Makoto.
when Ghost and Necron were fighting the God Misers and Deep Spectre just walked in, I was like, stab him in the back, stab him in the back, stab him in the back. God damn it, it's a regular Makoto. That would have been a great way to have snuck in evil Makoto.
I feel like if they were honestly going to really try and do this evil Makoto thing properly, they really should have been doing it like a while back, where like he's trying to infiltrate their group, and like you have those shenanigans of like they're talking about stuff and then plans and whatever, and then yeah, regular Makoto shows up and just like confused about what they're talking about, but then it's like whatever, you know.
Yeah.
Like
You
I
know,
mean,
back when he was a dick near the first couple episodes, and he still wasn't really a good guy, that would have been a perfect time. Because then him being more or less like distant, it's like, okay, he just wasn't paying attention because he's an asshole.
yeah, that could have worked, and plus we would have had an evil rider dogging them for most of the show. It would have been really good, but nope.
Yeah. And then, halfway through, he'd get the evil movie exclusive rider form for like one quick battle before he officially gets taken care of.
Yeah.
Like quickly give him Dark Ghost or Dark Spectre, whatever the fuck his name is, for like one final battle to say like, haha, I have surpassed and I'm dead. Like every Rider villain.
It's sad that us fans can write better stories than the freaking writers of these shows.
Yeah.
Anyway, we had
The only
another.
time we won't do that is when they finally give us a Kiva figure art. Then I'll stop. You hear me, Bandai? That's when I stop.
Anyway, and we had another scene of Takaru going digital because I think he accidentally merged with Adele for a few minutes.
Yeah, that was weird.
Yep. And apparently the inside of Adele just looks like, random building. Or wherever that was.
Yeah, like the rooftop of a random ass fucking building.
Yeah, something like that. And then he fought off a couple Gonmeisers inside of there, and then he starts hearing voices, so now he knows what it's like to be Masao before getting ejected.
Yeah, he gets cock blocked by Gonmeiser podiums, and they're like, hey, we want you inside us.
Yeah, now it's like the Gonmeisers are like trying to figure out what makes Takaru's power tick, and they're like acting on their own, and of course Adele's just ignoring it.
Yeah, and then there's that whole scene where Aria's like, hey, you had a mother too, dick.
Yeah, this show has gone from daddy issues to mommy issues because you have flashbacks to Adele and Aria and Alan's mother and father, and then you also have. Finally, we find out what happened to Takaru's mom. Apparently, she died after he was born. So, the other cliche of missing mothers.
Yeah, and I have a whole fucking theory about this.
Go for it.
Which I don't want it to be right, because if it is, that's going to make the show so much fucking worse. So think about it like this. Alan and Ganma friends are like, what, thousands of years old, they said?
At least, yeah.
But you would assume that, more or less, Canon grew up with them as, like, best friends.
Well, I'd imagine...
Give or take, kind of thing.
Well, I think they were, like, already, like, full-grown by the time Canon and Makoto ended up there.
Right, but more or less it's like, what if time... Like, what if, air quote, time in the Ganma world, like, is kind of like how it's on Mars, where, like, every 27 minutes is a whole year or some type of bullshit, or, like, a day.
Basically, time moves faster in the Ganma world.
Yeah, time moves faster in the Ganma world, so to them it's been 5,000 years, but in our world it's only been 18 years.
Give or take.
So, We never see other ghosts in the show besides Takaru and the Ganma people.
Other ghost meaning what? Dark ghost?
No, like ghosts as in dead people.
Oh, okay.
Whenever a person, air quote, dies, their soul is a little blue light. They're not a person.
Okay, yeah.
Unless it's for plot reasons, like with Ryu turning into the dad icon.
Of course.
So my thought with that is, that's weird. Where are all the dead people from, the carousel rides from episode 1? How come they never ran into a human ghost, ever?
Yeah, that is weird. It's like you think a show focused on ghosts, we'd see like other actual spirits, like what they do in like Supernatural or whatever when they're dealing with weirdness.
So my thought is, what if Takaru was technically part Ganma, and his mother was actually the princess of the blah 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 Ganma world, and she died giving birth to him? Because if you think about it, Argus, who also was supposed to have died, isn't dead. Because
That's
he's the villain of the movies.
that would be an interesting plot if Takaru's mom was the princess of the Ganmas.
Gunland.
Yeah. Well, no, princess.
Or the queen,
Yeah, I was going to say like the only princess is Aria.
who weirdly looks exactly like her mother, because it's the same actress.
Yeah, that is a little bit weird, but that would be
But
kind of
yeah, so,
interesting.
that's a thing that could happen. I don't want it to happen because that's us lazily writing in a plot point for a character, but
More like several, because that means Takaru, Adele, and Aria are all related.
as with Alan.
Yeah, and Alan too.
And another thing is that Aria mentions that he was born of a mother. So does that mean that some of the Ganma people were just created from the icons and not actually like created like a person?
I think the way that supposedly works is like based on like the way they've been talking throughout the rest of the show. It's like the Ganma people used to be like basically just like humans or and stuff, but then after Argus air quote died, and then also
The
his
prince, the
the
queen.
queen, the king decided, oh, make a world without death, and then that's when everyone started turning into icons and stuff. So
Right, but it felt really weird that he made a point of saying mother born. So maybe the reason Alan doesn't know emotions, air quote, and he was always, air quote, dead inside in the beginning is because he didn't have a mother per se. He was created from the Gamma powers and
maybe
turned into an icon, which is why he found owning a body so weird, as opposed
maybe
to other people.
I'm trying to think now because I'm trying to think back to the scene where they showed Adele and Aria and
It was
when they were
Adele,
younger.
Aria, and Adonis.
Yeah, it was Adele, Aria, Adonis, and then their mom. But I'm trying to think if Alan was there as a baby or not because he doesn't look like he's that much young, or he's not like that much younger than the other two.
Right, I don't remember seeing him there. That's the thing.
Yeah, I'm trying to think if he would have been there, he would have been like I think in his dad's arms or something. But I'm trying to remember now.
Yeah.
But yeah, that is an interesting theory. I highly doubt that's where they're gonna go with it, but
If it is, I'm gonna be really fucking pissed. And then then I would be like, you know what would have made the show better? If it was about Makoto. If that's their end goal, the show would have been much better if it was about Makoto and Ghost was a side character.
let's just be honest here. The show in general would have been better if it had been about Makoto, because he's a lot more interesting of a character.
Right, like the whole plot point was like starts off where the Rider is a bad guy trying to help destroy the world, and then he breaks free from that ideal.
Yeah,
God, now I just want to think of like a whole idea of making like an entire alternate reality show for Ghost where Makoto's the main character.
that's
Two
pretty.
ugly, grateful horns.
That's pretty much what we call fan fiction.
Yeah, yeah. Stop motion galore. Stop motion galore.
Yep, pretty much. Anyway, let's see what other notes did I have for this one. Oh yeah, Edith has a mission of his own now because he decides to run off for some reason, and cut to another monolith buried deep in the Ganma world's core, I guess.
Yeah, that was weird. There's a few things about that I've read about his like weird secret mission and the whole pillar thing. The monolith, not pillar. A pillar's a different thing. That's from another show. But it's either he's there to destroy that pillar because perhaps the God damn, I said pillar again. The monolith are actually more or less the actual portals between the worlds are being conducted through the monoliths, which is
Maybe.
why Kanon and Makoto got their entire 10 years of their lives fucked over by the portal.
Yeah, maybe, especially considering Edith says at some point that that was a total fluke. That shouldn't have happened. They didn't have any control over it, so.
Yeah. Another thing, because I saw someone post a scan and people are making assumptions because they don't read Japanese, is that maybe that's where there's another Ghost Driver. And he's going to suit up with an icon that we will see in 6 months for us.
So you think he has something buried down there that he's trying to get to?
I don't. Someone thinks that he's gonna use the Dark Ghost icon for an episode to fight alongside them, which I don't believe.
Yeah, didn't they kind of tease Dark Ghost at the end of this episode? Or was it? Or no, was it this episode or was it like a preview for the next one I saw? I forget which, but I think I saw Dark Ghost in one of the previews.
I don't remember because for some reason the way I watch it, it doesn't like the ending. It doesn't like the next times on any of the shows I watch.
That's weird, but
For some reason, they're all cut. The audio still plays, but the video doesn't, and it's really weird.
I don't know. It's I feel like I saw him, but maybe I didn't. I don't know.
Maybe, I don't know. I'd have to go back and look.
I can also look real quick. And final note is basically what happens to Talker at the end of the episode. He goes invisible,
Again,
and no one can see him. It's like, what?
which makes you. That confuses me because it's he's got, what, 3 days left before he kicks the bucket?
At least,
That?
yeah, it's at least 3 or something.
So is this a side effect of his timer running out? But then you bring up but then there's the thing of the whole, but he's ran out of time before and he just exploded.
Yeah, also, I think the thing I saw, now I'm just looking back at the video real quick, I think it was just a
Movie
part of the.
preview.
Yeah, it was just part of the movie promo. It's just the way it was cut together, it's like it comes
Yeah,
immediately after the end of the next time thing.
yeah, those weirds.
Which apparently for our next time we're going to actually see Makoto or not Makoto, Takaru fighting Musashi.
That's. Mm,
I have no idea how they're going to pull this off, but that's going to be interesting.
it's. And you know what it is? It's another fucking tie into the goddamn movie.
Probably.
Because that's the same guy that's playing Musashi in the movie.
Or it might just be them trying to keep continuity.
Yeah, but then how come he's not just the weird Parka Ghost dude from that one episode where Ryu summoned him?
I
Where he
don't
was in
know.
his crappy outfit, but he had the got the Parka Ghost helmet thing on.
I honestly have no idea. All I know is that we're going to see Takaru fighting Musashi, and then I think some of the other characters from the past are back, but they might be possessed. Because I think I saw the guy that got possessed by Ryoma, and then the
And
Edison crazy guy, and then I think someone else. I forgot who it was.
oh, son of a bitch! You know what they might be doing?
Hmm.
They might be bringing in the air quote 15 people who made who were brought to make these 15 icons for some stupid fucking reason that, hey, if 30 people are here with similar ideas, maybe that'll bring them to life.
Well, we are in the final stretch. We only have, let's see, 46 aired this week as we're recording this, so
Yeah.
yeah,
I
at least
really
2
don't want
more.
them to come back. I'm not gonna lie, I don't.
Well, this show is just so stupid. It doesn't deserve it. It's like Tucker can say dead for all we care, and that's so mean of us to say, but it's the truth.
This week, I hate the name Takaru.
And the sad part is that name also belongs to a semi-cool character in Shinkenger. So it's like you hear Takaru from one show and then Takaru from another, and it's like, erg.
Yeah, because
Eh,
it's like every episode of Ghost is hi. My name is Tenkuji Takaru, and I got murdered on my 18th birthday. I've said this for over 45 times now. Well, no. 44, because he didn't say that episode 1.
yeah, that's true. But it's just like I'm going to be so glad for the show to be over, so I never have to hear that ever
Yeah,
again. And
and then we heard it another 7 fucking times with the, whatchamacallit.
yeah,
We're gonna we get to hear it one more time after the show's over. 2 more times after the show's over, probably.
I
And
don't.
then we're done with it. Because it's the
Yeah,
movie, and then there's gonna be the Rider Wars.
I don't know if they'd actually use that in the Rider War, but whatever. I'm just gonna be glad to
He'd
be done
probably
with
be
it.
like, hey, I'm Tenkuji Takaru. I died like 10 years ago. Bye. I'm Kamen Rider Ghost.
Yeah, it's just gonna. I'm just gonna be so glad to never hear that again. And of course, the silly slash sad part is that we're complaining about hearing this over and over again. Yet we're invested in like 4 shows from CW which do the exact same thing.
Yeah, but they don't do it every single episode.
Pretty close.
I mean, yeah, but it's also only 20 episodes as opposed to fucking 40.
Well, 26
Well,
versus
yeah,
like
26 or
40
so, and then you
plus.
have the second season, but it's a second season. It's not, hi, this is the still ongoing season 1 where you know everything. I'm blah 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 blah. I got struck by a blah 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 doo, and now I'm the super dabadoo.
Yeah, that's true. It does kind of work better with those because at least like anyone new jumping on kind of thing. But
Right, it's not like, hi, we're 50 episodes in. My name is Tenkuji Takaru. I was killed by the Ganma on my 18th birthday. Now I must collect the 15 heroic icons to come back to life, and it's like, you already have the 15 icons. Why are you still saying this?
I don't know. It's just really stupid and it's annoying. And I will admit, even with like the CW shows, it's kind of tiresome to the
Yeah,
point
it does
where,
get tiresome sometimes.
yeah, I tend
Especially
to
with
like
the
skip them.
Flash.
Yeah, I tend to like skip those after a while. It's like just give us a cold open or just cut to previously. But whatever. Anyway, I think that's it for Ghost. Unless you got anything I haven't brought up yet.
We mentioned the Psycho Twins are there, right?
Yeah, they're still hanging
Well,
around for
I
some
say
reason.
Psycho Twins. The twins are there.
Yep, the twins are still popping up randomly for some reason. They've
And
been doing this for like
their key phrase of Tenkuji Takaru is key,
I
which
know.
brings up 2 things. Either A, the legend icons have something to do with the end game of Ghost,
Which would be
and
weird.
maybe the Rider Icons are going to count are the actual 15 icons he needs to be revived. Which,
That would be a very interesting twist, especially considering the Legend Rider things, but we'll get to that later.
right, but think about it though. There are 15 the sage says 15 heroic icons.
Yeah.
Edison and Newton, Grimm, a lot of those guys aren't heroic.
No, they're just
I
scientists.
invented the light bulb.
Well, it
I
depend.
wrote scary stories for children.
Well, the
I
thing.
invented things fell.
Well, the thing is that depending on what show or which translation you get it from, Overtime says heroic. TV Nihon says luminary.
Yeah, I noticed that. That's really weird.
So if you go by TV Nihon's translation of luminary, then Newton, Edison, and all those guys fit in. But if you go by Overtimes, it's not quite as
Yeah,
fitting.
and I've watched more Overtime than I have Nihon.
Yeah, same here. That's usually where I watch stuff. I usually prefer overtime if I can help it, because Nihon does some weird stuff with their translations that bug the crap out of me.
Oh yeah, especially with those heroic icon things. Oh, that Lord Baron fight. God, that was hard to watch. It's like the word looks so scratchy. It's so. I want to know what font that is.
Yeah, they for some reason and we're completely derailing, but just for some reason Team Nihon will do that, where they will give certain things just weird fonts, and I understand they're trying to do a little more presentation work, and I can appreciate it, but at the same time, certain things that they do, it's annoying, and I'm tired of it. And then when you watch something like Shinkenger, which has all of these attacks that are named in Japanese, and they only show the translation note for it once, and it's what does that mean again? Because it's been how long since they used that or whatever. It's
Yeah, that's what I hate about Crunchyroll is that they don't tell you they don't sub the intros.
yeah, it's just a weird translation thing that Nihon does that just kind of gets on my nerves sometimes. So I
Yeah.
prefer just watching it through overtime.
But then if it's through if we go through this using the air quote overtime universe, God, this is weird. Then 15 heroic icons. Kuga, Agito, Ryuki, Fives, Blade, Hibiki, Kabuto, Deno, Kiva, Double, Kiva,
Technically, there's
Decade.
six.
Right,
Technically,
yeah, there's
it's
16
16.
technically because of Drive, but he's still alive.
Yeah.
So,
Technically, they're all still alive.
well,
Most of
yeah.
them, anyway, I think. The only one that shouldn't even be a writer still at that point is Ryuki because of the way that show ended.
Yeah.
Friggin' retcons. Anyway. Shall we move on to Zyuogher?
Yep.
And for this episode, we have the old friend from the past with Yamato's college pal.
Not only that, it's also the wedding episode, too. We get to knock out two tropes in one episode. Thank God.
And we also have the Misao being slightly jealous of Yamato's old friend, whose name is completely escaping me. Daichi, I think it is.
I think so.
Yeah. But yeah, we have that episode. So, and back on the ship with the villains. I love how Naria is talking to Genis about Bangla. It's should we really be letting him run loose down there? Especially with Kubar acting weird, and Genis is all just let everyone do whatever the hell they want.
Right.
As long as it's entertaining.
Yeah, that was the thing I thought of. It's why just send one monster? I mean, I get that it's easier for the giant spaceship bow and arrow to lock onto, with its cameras and shit, but you have technically three generals if you count Naria. Let them all just release one monster each.
Yeah, there's your blood game. Who can cause the most carnage and keep the Zyuoghers super busy?
Yeah, then you get it. Yeah, but that's the more common Rider plot where all the riders have to split up to fight the monsters.
Well, you can do it with Sentai too. It's just obviously a Sentai is more geared towards here's 5 or 6 people dealing with one monster compared to a common Rider where riders tend to take on monsters by themselves.
Yeah, Kyoryuger could have done that.
Yeah, especially with how many they had.
Yeah, okay, 5 of us will go over here, 5 of us will go over here. You 2 will go over there.
Yeah, especially considering they had a good 3-4 generals, they could have done that.
Yeah.
Ideas that probably will never ever get used, but would be cool to see.
Yeah.
And of course, this being an old friend episode, we get to see some flashbacks of him and Yamato in the past, and Yamato's still pretty much the way he is now.
Yeah.
Unshockingly.
Yeah, it's not like there was something really, really, really messed up that happened in his childhood.
He recovered from that quite well.
Wait, that was 2 weeks ago.
Yeah. And since we have a wedding episode, we get to see all of the team dress up, and man, they clean up good.
Yeah, and Technicolor suits and dresses.
Yeah, I know. It's here's Leo in a yellow suit. Here's Tusk in a semi-mix of a suit / his usual garb, and then here's the ladies in some pretty
like
dresses.
colored sundresses.
Yeah.
Which, like, in my watching it, it's like, okay, yeah, that kind of makes sense. They're all more or less wearing their color, and then in the back of my mind is going, where did they find these?
I know.
Did
It's like, where did...
Mario make these for them? Did they steal Yamato's money again and go shopping? How
Yeah.
did they get these?
Yeah,
Did they just
especially...
have these on them for some reason?
Especially, you have to think, like, with Leo and Tusk, considering, you're not going to just find green and yellow suits like that lying around.
True. True.
Or at least you're not going to find them very easily. You'd either have to get them custom made or end up in some kind of specialty shop for those.
Yeah, it'd be great if Leo was wearing his suit from the earlier episode.
Oh yeah, from like way back. That would have been funny.
Yeah, back when they were fighting the gun dude who showed up because of Bangla last episode.
You can almost assume maybe it was that one, but that suit was like white. That wasn't
Yeah,
yellow.
that was white. That's why I was like, oh man, it would have been great if he was wearing his other suit that he totally stole from a store manager.
Yeah, that would have been funny if he'd actually kept that one.
Mm-hmm.
And I did like how there was this one joke where I think it was like Sella and Ami were talking about how it would be nice to see the wedding and stuff, and then Leo, I think it was like Sella who said it, and then Leo is all like, wow, you're actually acting like a girl, and then Sella hits him and is like, I am a girl.
Yeah, it's like, or Voltron is like, that's a small bear you got there, punch. But it's effective.
Yep. I cannot wait for Voltron Season 2 to show up.
Yeah.
Whenever that'll be. But anyway, and of course, because we're still dealing with Bangla and him trying to wreck Yamato, he decides to wreck the wedding.
Yeah, and like his thought process here, A, it makes for a good villain idea, and B, it's really fucked up when you think about it, because it's like, well, killing your dead mother in front of you wasn't working, so how about I kill someone who's real? Ha ha ha, I'm a villain, and like, at one point I was like, you're really fucked up. And then 5 seconds later, it's like, I like that.
Yeah.
You're a villain I like.
Yeah, I like Bangla. He's a pretty good villain. It's like he's actually thinking, hey, I'll go kill some people and actually, like, make it hurt.
Yeah, and wasn't he, like, attacking fishermen earlier, too?
Yeah, I think it was, like, part of his hunt for whoever it is he's looking for, which will show up in, like, 2 episodes, I think.
Yeah. I don't think he was more attacking fishermen. He was attacking adults.
I think he was just attacking people looking for information and not getting anywhere.
Yeah, but I noticed there was a lot of, like, people by water.
Yeah, which, if he's looking for who we think he's looking for, it makes sense for him to go for the water.
Yeah, especially if he's looking for a person who led a group of other people, it would make sense for him to be looking for someone by the water.
How long can we dance around it? Oh, well. Anyway. Just a random note from the wedding scenes that they had. The priest that they had or the guy they had playing the priest for this wedding did not look like he was Japanese.
No, like, I have to, like, he looked like he was an actual priest, to the point where I was like, were those two, like, actor and actress, like, actually getting married, and, like, this was just something they wanted to do because it'd be kind of cool?
That would actually be kind of interesting.
Completely awesome.
That would actually be kind of interesting. Like, here's your wedding, and it's also being used as part of a TV show. Have fun!
Could you imagine how much that would save for, like, oh man, we don't need a photographer. Why? Cameraman, spy shot guy.
Yeah, but then you also gotta think, like, because you're filming it for a TV show, you gotta do, like, all these reshoots and stuff, and it's like, it would get so annoying.
Yeah, but if they're both actors/actresses, they'd be used to that, though.
That is true, yeah, if they are, yeah, that does make sense.
It would be cool, like, if you find out, like, later, it's like, oh yeah, by the way, these two actually did get married on the show.
Yeah, that would be a very, very interesting plot twist to that story.
That'd be one bitching wedding video to show your kids.
Yep.
When they're like 5, like, here's our wedding video. Do we have to? Yes, you'll enjoy it.
It's action-packed and amazing.
And something happened that apparently was really, really, really awkwardly timed. when Red is fucking over Bangla with the Eagerizer,
Yeah.
and he takes out the windmill.
Yeah, I did notice that's like, and there's some property damage.
Well, apparently somewhere in like Canada or like Nova, I think it's in like Nova Scotia, a windmill fell over.
Timing!
Yeah,
That's interesting to say the least.
that was really weird.
But yeah, so Bungley just starts causing trouble to try and draw out Yamato, and of course the other four, for some reason, sends him, even though he's not technically a Death Galleon, which was kind of odd, but I guess maybe their tails are just general danger sensing, and so they all run off with Masao to go deal with him. And
I want to say maybe when he first was on the ship and he's like, yeah, I'll join your blood game, maybe they did something to do that to him.
maybe, I don't know, it was just kind of weird. It's like, why is it reacting to him? It shouldn't be doing that, but whatever. Man, we have some pretty cool fight sequences with them, and Bungley also has a dick laser.
All the great characters do.
Yeah.
And some bad ones.
Yep. And I just
I
thought it was.
think of one in particular that's a Megazord.
And I just thought it was kind of interesting that we have. They're constantly cutting back to the wedding, and you see Yamato like looking up at the balcony where his the rest of the Zyuoghers are supposed to be watching, and he's like, "Where'd they run off to?" And like, you saw them running off with their tails up. You should know what that means.
Yeah, you'd think he would get some sort of tell too by now.
Well, he isn't technically a Zuman. He just has Zuman power. I mean,
Right, but like you
Misao
think
doesn't detect it either, and he's got three of them in his head.
well, they're ghosts. They're not real. They're his
It's
mental delusions.
He still has the Zuman power inside of him, same as Yamato, and Yamato's got
True.
two of them.
If
So
anything, you'd think Misao would have it more because it's more potent in him because it's their entire life force.
yeah, but apparently neither of them have detecting powers because they're still technically human, just with infusions.
Yeah. Or hell, go really old school and give him a fucking pager or something. Jesus. A beeper.
Yeah, they just have the beeper going off in the middle of the wedding. That would have been awkward.
I mean, a pager on vibrate wouldn't be any better.
Yeah.
You're sitting there like, does anyone think these two should not be whatever the fuck it is? Please speak now.
Yeah, that would have been a little awkward. But then again, considering he decides to just walk out in the middle of the wedding and his friend sees it, it's like, that's pretty awkward on its own.
Yeah, true.
And of course,
You would
when
think I would know what they say at a wedding. I was just at one in like fucking May that I was like a major part of.
uh, yeah, you would think. Anyway, well, yeah, and then Yamato goes, finds his friends using his eagle vision, and as soon as he sees Bungley, and Bungley gives him the plan and whatever, he's all like, gets super pissed.
Yeah. Does Yamato have a white hoodie by any chance? Like, have you seen him wearing one?
I don't think so, no.
Thank God.
I have a.
God.
Is that a reference to Assassin's Creed?
Yes, because you said he has eagle vision. And I was like, please don't make that joke. Please don't make that joke. Please tell me he does. Please tell me he's never worn a white hoodie before. Thank you.
No, I'm pretty sure he's stuck to just wearing his own colors.
Which is weird. Like, I know why they do it, but it'd be nice if they didn't.
Yeah, yes, they actually change their wardrobe once in a while.
Right, like there was this great joke I saw. It was a small, quick comic someone drew up of like, Tommy, you are now the White Ranger. Hard cuts to Tommy in his laundry room just dumping bleach into his washing machine filled with green clothes.
Well, it's like the joke they made in Dino Thunder, where it's like, gonna go shopping. Closet's lacking a serious, or there's a serious lack of black in my closet, or something like that.
Yeah.
They did acknowledge that in Power Rangers once. I mean, I kind of understand why the Zoomins themselves don't change their outfits very much because,
They only have the one, yeah.
yeah, it's the outfit that they have from home, so they want to stick with
Right.
what they've got. Plus, it's more convenient to be wearing their normal clothes when ever they accidentally or purposely switch into their Zoomin modes.
Right, but really the only thing that changes is their head
That's true. They don't
and
increase
their
in size or
hands
anything. Yeah, that's true, but I don't know.
and their occasional backsides because of tails.
Well, their tails still stick out even in their disguise mode anyway, so.
Right. It's just more potent at sometimes.
Yeah, but anyway, it's funny you actually mention White Hoods though, because I have a note with here saying with all of the talk Bangla does about despair and stuff, he would be a great Phantom.
I'm guessing that's a reference to an animu.
Kamen Rider Wizard. That was all they
Ah,
did. They drove
yeah,
people to
that.
despair.
It's been so long since we did our retrospective on Wizard, I forgot. We did that in April.
Yes, our Wizard retrospective.
If you could call it that.
But yeah, it's like you're gonna drive people to despair. Yeah, you'd make a whole lot of Phantoms doing that.
Yeah.
But then you'd have another guy with the gem fetish fighting you off.
Yeah.
Anyway, and I love the fight scene with Yamato and Bangla in front of the church because they had a really awesome insert song,
That's true.
which I want that for my iPod. Please tell me that's coming out soon.
Probably.
Yeah, I really hope that's coming out soon because I want that. That song is awesome.
Yeah.
And it was just cool seeing Yamato just going all ape shit on Bangla and
Literally.
yeah, ape for the first fight and then eagle for the second part.
You
Which I
always go
love.
to base form when you're serious.
I also
Like a
love.
Kamen Rider, I always use my default form, even though I know I won't win.
I also love how we actually have. I think this is like one of the rare cases since he got Gorilla where we've seen him do this, where he actually flipped his helmet visor back down to go to eagle mode.
Yeah, he hasn't done that. He hasn't done that a lot,
Yeah.
if
So
ever.
yeah, which was cool to see him do that. Of course, he says the henshin phrase before he does it, but or
Right.
as he does it. And unshockingly, because Yamato said one of his catchphrases in the middle of the fight, Daichi pretty much knows who Yamato is. And it's like, oh, you're that guy. And it's like, huh?
Yeah, we almost got one of those this week in another show.
Yep. And last note of, or last thing of note for this episode, we find our Birdman, Bard, digging around and he found another one of the auxiliary cubes. And then who should come upon him? Larry!
Amigo!
And apparently these two actually know each other, because so they address each other as such.
So, that either means Bird, or whatever the fuck you want to call him, Birdman, Harvey Birdman, might have been a humanologist, I guess, like Larry is.
I have a feeling it's either going to be a case of they had history with each other back in Zoomen Land, or whatever they call that dimension,
Yeah,
or they've run into each other on Earth before.
back in Zooland.
Yeah. So that's going to be interesting to see where that goes, and then also to see what that little auxiliary thing was, because I couldn't quite tell what the animal was. It
I
looked like...
believe it was the cheetah
Okay, which one is that a retool of? Because I don't remember.
bear.
Okay, so another axe-type weapon or something.
Yeah, because they need 3.
Well, to be fair, we haven't seen them pull out the gold panda in a while. That was just like the one-off thing. It's like, here, have a gold
Yeah, because
panda.
it was a first release thing if you bought 6 Ranger Zord.
So,
Kind of
yeah.
like how if you would get the first order for Ghosts figure art, you'd get a little Urison, and if you did it with Spectre, you got some icons. Little icons for the figures.
But, yeah, so that was Zyuogher 26, and definitely loving the feud thing going on with Bangla and Yamato. It's been so long since we have a really good Red Ranger feud with somebody. Considering the
Yeah.
last one we had barely lasted very long.
True.
And then I'm trying to think. Uh, well, Tokijor kind of had one with Red and Zed, but wasn't that? I mean, it was all right, but it wasn't anything spectacular. Kyoryuger didn't have anything like that, at least not that I can remember.
Well, there was a whole he wanted to do stuff on his own because he felt weird working with the other group because there was that whole subplot where he didn't want to work with them because he felt like he was too old-fashioned or something like that.
I don't know. And then, of course, the last one that really just comes to mind of note was Enter and Go Buster Red. Or Red
Yeah,
Buster, I should say. But anyway, um, shall we move on to the Ultramens?
yeah, to the Ultramans.
Which, in this episode, we have a woman who predicts monster attacks in her dreams. And her dreams are so detailed that she even gets to see a guy turn into Ultraman Orb, so she knows who he is.
Yeah, her dreams are so vivid she can see stock footage before it even happens.
Yep.
Ugh.
And pretty much this episode is just dealing with her, and we have Guy basically trying to get her to change her outlook, because she's all like, fate can't be changed, blah, blah, blah. Which, okay.
You obviously don't know the Joestars.
Clearly she doesn't know them. But we did actually get to see some more of Guy's backstory, which, as we suspected, something to do with that woman and him losing his true form.
Yeah.
So,
Like I said, I think that thing we saw in the first episode was him fighting with his official form, and then he got fucked over like a bitch.
yeah, or I think he might have like lost control and maybe he accidentally killed the woman he was hanging out with, and thus his power was taken away because he harmed somebody. So now he has to borrow power in order to continue fighting to redeem himself.
That's got to be really awkward though to think of it like you have like what over 50
There's a lot of Ultramen, so
because I know there's like 50 years of Ultraman, so it's like could you imagine going back to like the 50 other people and being like, yeah, I fucked up. Could I maybe use your powers to redeem myself because I feel really bad?
well, the thing
I
is,
accidentally murdered this chick I really liked because I was fighting a monster and I went a little overboard.
well, the thing is though, is that he's using cards to do it. So it's like either are these cards like the Ultramen themselves turned into cards, or is this like a portion of their powers been left behind as cards, and he's just borrowing it?
Right, is it like, is this Decade or is this Blade?
Yeah, I honestly have no idea because they haven't explained all of this yet.
Yeah.
And knowing Ultraman, whether or not they ever will, I have no clue, but we'll find out.
Yeah, I just wish he would. I wish he could just use one card sometimes.
That would be interesting. But
Because then it would be like other shows.
yeah, but then we're literally just copying Decade at that point.
And technically, Gokaiger with the whole using an old person's power.
Yeah, true. And pretty much that's mostly the episode. I mean, the only other things of interest is we had the monster of the week that showed up. Apparently, was being affected by Haruka's negativity, and when she turned positive, it basically turned into a bitch and let Ultraman or beat her or beat it.
Yeah, his neck looked like it had cinnamon rolls on it.
Which I thought was kind of interesting. It's like at the final thing when you see Guy using Ziparium, whatever that is, the base.
Yeah, the super uber weird cross attack.
Yeah, and all it does is just turns it into blue dust. It's not a giant explosion. That was interesting.
Yeah, and there wasn't anything for him to scan because he has all of his forms.
Yeah. Although
Besides his true form.
I did find it interesting. It's like when he does the thing that turns it into blue dust. It kind of reminds me of one of Ginga's moves, which was called Ginga Comfort. It was kind of like a cure move where he would use it on people who had been stuck in the monster mode against their will. Because he did it with in like regular Ginga with one of his friends who had been brainwashed and stuck in the monster mode, and then in Ginga S, someone else got stuck in it by accident or something, and there was like some kind of weird mishap, and he used it to get them out of it instead of just blowing them up.
Yeah.
Yeah, the way he used to do it was like he was still like when you blew up the monster, it still freed the person, but it wasn't. It was obviously a lot more violent.
Yeah, because wasn't like Genga the like decade for Common Riders, or the decade for Ultraman? Because didn't he have like he could turn into old Ultraman
Kind of. They
using these
didn't.
spark dolls?
Sort of. They didn't really do much with it, though, unfortunately. Mostly what they did was, like, they would just end up collecting spark dolls of, like, monsters and stuff, and then he would, like, turn into the monster and use it to fight another monster for a while until Genga's spark doll finally decided to show itself, and then they would turn into Genga and just finish the monster off. The only time I've seen that I can think of where he actually used a Ultraman Spark Doll to become an Ultraman was, I think, in like the movie where he used it to become Tiga.
Hmm.
But he fought off a bunch of like Dark Ultramen, which are just people using Ultra Spark Dolls.
Right.
It was weird. They didn't do very much with it, with like they could have, which sucks because it was an interesting idea.
Yeah, get to reuse old suits.
Exactly. And the last note of this is another one of Haruka's weird visions. We see Guy being tempted by that Dark Ultra card that we saw that one guy holding in, I think it was last episode.
Oh yeah, the Bellamy or whatever the fuck his name is.
Yeah. It's like, so at some point Guy is going to be tempted to use that card, possibly? And she doesn't even tell him what it is. She just says, like, you're going to get stuck in a bad situation. Just letting you know.
Which makes me wonder, what card is he going to use the combo with that?
Yeah, that's going to be interesting to see what the storyline behind that card is. If it's actually... So now I'm kind of wondering, is it a corrupted version of like his old base form or something? It's like, here's your old power back, but obviously it's been colored, or is it actually Juggler's old form? But they had like similar power levels or something. I don't know. Ultraman storylines are so weird.
Yeah.
I guess we will find out as the show progresses. But hey, at least it's something to keep us hooked in. It's like, ooh, something to look forward to. Anyway, shall we move on to battery charged dinosaurs?
Yeah.
Dino Charge, or Dino Super Charge episode 9, because I couldn't watch episode 10. I have a feeling this is going to be the norm, folks. We're going to be 1 week behind, so please bear with us.
Yeah.
And I have no notes for this because this episode sucked.
Yeah.
Literally. There is nothing noteworthy about this episode at all. It's literally, here's the Pink Ranger's friend, and she gets found with a club from one of those blue guys, and she claims to be the Pink Ranger, and of course shenanigans ensue. And really this should have been an episode focusing on the Pink Ranger, but it wasn't, because she didn't grow at all.
Yeah.
And this was an episode, and the monster from this week was one that was from an episode focused on Ian, but it turned into a Pink Ranger episode and didn't work. It was terrible.
Agreed.
So yeah, that's literally all we have for Dino Charge.
Yeah, okay, no, that card I believe is Ultraman Belial.
Okay, so that is probably Juggler's card.
Well, Belial is an older rider.
Yeah, isn't that from like the Zero
Yeah.
movie?
Yeah, let me try and find a image that looks moderately kind of sort of like the card. That's decent enough, I guess.
As we revert back to Ultraman, because, like we said, Dino Charge has nothing.
What was more, I was looking this up the entire time.
Well, that too, but yeah, that's just like... And the sad part is that this episode of Dino Charge, as we continue just yammering about it, that looks kind of cool. Anyway, it's just like, this was supposed to be the return for Supercharge, and this is what you give us? Like, you couldn't have had this be the last episode of the first half of the season, and then, whatever aired this week, which, from what I understand, is actually not a bad episode.
Yeah.
We'll talk about it next week, obviously, but it's like, this could have been a better return instead. It's just like, what's wrong with you people? Anyway.
Yeah, this week's episode wasn't much better. It was another person is in danger. Oh no, so-and-so can't be here because they know the person. Blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, but at least we got something new out of this one, and like I said, we'll cover it more when I've actually seen it.
Yeah, but, stock footage.
Yeah, anyway.
And CGI, because they couldn't make that new.
Well, of course. But anyway, shall we move into our Legend Rider thing.
Our featured topic, yeah.
Yep, feature topic slash, hey, we need to cover this because Ghost is referring to it.
Yeah,
The
the
Legend
Legend
Rider
Rider
Damashii.
Icon series.
Yep, which I believe these were released exclusively on, like,
YouTube, except for episode 7, which came with the DVD of the 45 and Ichigo icon.
yeah, so this was an odd thing to try and keep up with, especially with the, I don't think any of the subbers were actually, no, I think Overtime was sort of keeping up with it a little bit, but then they just kind of
They
fell
did a
off of
couple
it.
episodes. They did
I
the
think they did at
Drive
least,
one, and then stopped.
yeah,
Because
and
I only
then,
remember seeing the Drive one originally.
yeah, and then TB Nihon just did them all as a batch, and that's where we watched it from. So, anyway, so this series starts with the unleashing of an Ultima Ganma, and then we see the first appearance of Frey, the chick with short hair, who can summon old enemies, and of course the first one is Heart from Drive.
Can I mention one thing about that Ultimo real quick?
Yeah,
We saw an up close of his face, and they have compound eyes.
that's interesting.
You know who else is supposed to have compound eyes or something around there?
What?
Ghost. Their helmets are supposed to be compound,
Oh yeah,
but they
because
can't do that, so they're clear plastic, which I wouldn't have noticed unless I heard someone mention it in a review when I was watching a review for the Spectre figure art. And after I noticed that, it's been bothering me ever since.
huh, interesting.
Because like when Spectre first showed up, he was in the background all lit up, and you could see where all the lights were.
Hmm,
And that's how the figure art looks like. You can see on the helmet where the quote-unquote lights were.
that's
Same with
interesting.
the Ghost figure art.
That is interesting. I've never really noticed that. It's just like, and here's just a smooth plastic face, pretty
Yeah.
much. Because literally, that's just the way the Ghost Inspector suits look. It's just like, here's just a smooth face, and then the only thing that's different or interrupts the smoothness is just here's the horns.
Right, but it's like the inside of the face is supposed to be compound, like the Rider eyes, how it has like the bug eye effect.
Yeah, but they don't close up on the eyes enough to really make that noticeable.
Well, with them, it's supposed to be the colored parts.
Ah, yeah, that would make sense. But
Yeah,
again,
so the orange that's really nice and smooth is supposed to have that like bug eye effect,
yeah, but
like
again, they don't.
Sango has.
Yeah, but again, they don't really do close-ups enough for it to be noticeable if it's actually there or not.
It doesn't look like it's there when you can tell when you can normally see it from far away.
Yeah. Anyway, and of course, to set up for the idea of these guys getting other icons, Frey steals all of the ones they already have.
Which was weird, but okay.
Yep, and then of course we have another one of these ladies named Freya show up and basically tell these guys, "Hey, go get these rider icons and whatnot." And the first off the block is the drive icon,
Yep.
which apparently summoning icons basically means do the little eyeball symbol over an item from the old gimmick lines.
Yeah. Which that's kind of something I wanted us to do as like a special topic. I'll talk about it after we're done recording.
Okay. And so we have our plot being, oh, Frey and Freya trying to stop each other or something. And basically the episodes just kind of roll through this formula where it's like Frey summons monster from past show, one of the riders fights it, gets new icon, and move
Uses
on.
said icon, kicks the monster's ass.
Yeah, we have the
There's
second.
only 2 that bugged me.
Well, let's go through the list here real quick. We have the second monster, which was the Terror Dopant that Makoto had to deal with using the double icon.
Oh yeah. I want to watch Double, but after seeing that suit and that's supposed to be the main villain, that's really not that grand.
Yeah, the Pterodopont design is just kind of weird, but the show
Outward.
itself is pretty good.
Yeah, I watched a couple episodes. That's kind of what bricked my old phone.
Our third monster was a return from Gaim because we had Baron in his Overlord
Yeah,
form.
Overlord Baron, which is getting a figure art or has one out now. or something.
Yes, and of course I love how when he comes up and it's just like, I don't do what you want me to or whatever. I do what I want.
Yeah,
So
and then Takuru's like, "Oh man, it's one of Frey's minions," and in the back of my mind, it was just like, I haven't watched all of Gaim, but you fucked up.
yeah,
And
it's
then
like,
the first words out of Baron's mouth was like, I'm not their minion."
how dare you call me a minion? And insert them fighting, and then we get the Gaim icon, which
Which,
Gaim Damashii looks all right for the most part. I kind of like it.
uh,
I
on
think,
the suit, all the suits look good on the Damashis besides 3 and 4.
yeah, okay, I know which ones you're
Yeah,
talking about. And then I believe in that episode we also get a peek at Freya sitting there playing with other heroic or Kamen Rider icons. And it's like, so
yeah,
she's already got a bunch of these.
yeah.
Interesting.
Kuga, Agito, Ryuki, Fies, Blade,
Yes, I
Hibiki,
know.
Kabuto, Deno, Kiva, Deke.
Pretty much the first 10 of the Heisei.
Yeah, the Heisei.
Next episode, we have our fourth monster, Sagittarius, and we get our Forze icon, which just looks really stupid on the
Yeah,
Spectre suit.
that's one of the ones I didn't like how it looked.
Well, I can pretty much blame the Forze suit for looking goofy in general.
Well, it was more for the hood. I wish the hood. Well, oh no, they couldn't have done that. Okay, never mind. I don't have a problem with it because if I did, it'd be racist. You know what I mean now.
Yes, I know where you're going with
Okay,
this.
move over that now.
I believe this is also the episode where like Makoto and Takuro are like, these monsters are acting really weird, and then
Yeah, and then like they both go to fight this one, and then Makoto's just like, "No, I got this. You're my best friend because Forze."
yeah, and
And
then
then does this space thing, and everyone was like, "Dude, what the fuck?" Which
yeah,
in my
even
mind was like, "That's about accurate." But then I remembered, "Hey, motherfucker, what about when you use Ryoma?"
he doesn't have that yet.
I thought he did, because didn't he get that before whatchamacallit got Houdini?
I don't remember. I don't think.
It's been too long. I don't remember. It's been a while.
Anyway, I think these were supposed to be like all out before the Ichigo movie thing.
They
So,
were, because of episode 7.
yeah, so I don't think they had Ryoma yet. Anyway, and then of course, the end of this episode for Sagittarius, we end up confronting Frey and Freya, and it turns out they're actually working together for some reason.
I mean, with the plot that they have, the overall plot is stupid as hell.
Yeah, because in the next episode, Frey's all like, well, I'll tell you what the story is if you fight these two, and then we get the White Wizard and the Dino Greed from Wizard and
Yeah,
O's.
Dr. Fuji. Or Maki, Dr. Maki.
Yeah,
Dr.
Maki.
Fuji's from Pokemon.
Yep, and so, of course, the two are fighting these guys, and then the Ultima that has been wandering around finally shows itself.
Yeah, the
Tro-
Ultima that was wandering around the building, neck or drive type next showed up in.
It's just been wandering around in general, and then it finally shows itself, and apparently its name's like Zibalba or something, and he's here to kill.
Shabolba, I believe, is what I heard someone calling it.
It's something really stupid that starts with an X, and then it's like, apparently he's here to kill the twins, which he refers to as the bugs.
Going to, well, I mean, everyone's a bug if you think about Loki. What's ant to a boot? It's a bug that you step on. Well, point blank, if it went like this, hey, we need you guys to fight these monsters because this other guy's trying to kill us, and the only thing that can stop him is this other icon we have to create when we combine all these specific icons.
Yep.
That would have been a lot better than, I'm going to be very, 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 very conceited about this.
Yeah, that was just kind of weird, and then of course Makoto gets the O's icon, and then
I didn't like that one either.
and Takaru gets the Wizard icon.
That one was the only one that looked. That one made me wish Wizard had a hood.
Yeah, that would have been a very interesting design
At
change for
least
Wizard.
Flame Wizard.
Yeah, the
Flame
Wizard.
and Water. Not the
Yeah,
other ones. Their faces were too wide.
yeah, the Wizard hoodie actually looked pretty good.
Yeah, but
It's also probably no, it's about on par with Ryoma and Goemon in terms of length.
yeah.
Anyway, and I
But
love how the
going on with why I don't like the O's one, it's because the background of the chest design wasn't black, it was the same color as the logo.
ah
So you couldn't tell that it was Taka, Tora, and Bata, because the animal logo and the background were the same colors.
interesting.
That was the
I
only thing that bothered me.
I didn't notice that apparently for some reason, but anyway. And I love how in this episode we actually have a double rider kick where like they summon these, I guess, manifestations of the riders that they just got icons from, and all of them basically kicked this one Ultima.
Yeah, which I'm gonna say this. You know what? No, I'll save it for when the other form happens.
Yeah, and then so the end of the episode, we see Freya and Frey leave, and somehow like Freya, like the two of them basically give back the icons that they took from them, along with the other hero icons, and then shoot together from like 16 icons a 45 icon.
Which makes no sense, but okay.
Yeah, that makes no sense whatsoever. And of course, Tucker is the one that gets this bad boy because main hero, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
And then episode 7, we have a couple of old Shocker mooks,
Yeah.
which were spawned by another Ultima, but apparently this one is just the ultimate darkness and whatever.
I think it was the same guy, but a different version of that guy.
All I know is just like kind of weird because like he's wandering around in a white hood, like in a cape, just like covering himself, and then all of a sudden a dark icon that's like in the sky suddenly crashes into him and gives him all
Not
this
only is it
power or
a
something.
dark icon, it's a dark heroic icon.
Yep, because it was the Alexander icon, which just looked absolutely stupid.
Can I just say, I fucking called it that it was going to have one of those weird mohawk things.
Oh
Because
yeah, this.
out of boredom and from just me liking history, I made my own fake pixel sprites of what I would think other heroic icons would look like. And when I did Alexander the Great, he had the head mohawk thing.
Yeah, the little Centurion helmet foof or whatever they call
Yeah,
those.
but I also gave those onto his shoulders because it would add variety to him. But yeah.
Yeah, that was interesting. And then, of course, to fight this thing, what do? We get to see Ichigo Damashii, which is basically here's just a hood and a scarf.
That bugged me so much.
It's just a hood and a scarf and then the Ichigo mask. It's so stupid.
It would have been better if it was like a green hoodie the rest of the way down from the scarf.
Yeah, and then,
Dark forest green.
yeah, something like that. I mean, the freaking what was it? Showa Rider Lockseed from the Kamen Rider Tyson movie. Much as I hate that film and much as I hate that form, that was more effort put into it than what Ghost did.
Right.
It was just so stupid. And then, of course, he uses it to fight off the two Shocker mooks, and then he uses the Heisei one to destroy the Ultima.
There is a thing I wish happened there, but I know it wouldn't happen because that's not in the toy. When he's changing, and when he does his final attack, you know what I'm going to do. I've done it at least 3 times now. Just the Deca Driver voice as each one of the logos attach onto the suit just Kuga, Agito, Ryuki, Fies, Blade, Hibiki, Kabuto, Den-O, Kiva, Decade, Double, O's, Forze, Wizard, Gaim, Drive.
Yeah, that would have been cool. But nope, and so we just get a silly chime out of the driver.
Yeah.
Because that's the way the Ghost toy works.
I mean, hell, Gaim's chime was the stupidest. Orange
Yeah.
and banana, it can't be.
Yeah, that was so weird. It's like, what? I mean,
I feel like it was there because he's fighting Baron.
I feel like it may be a kind of
It's because the word for banana and the words for it can't be rhyme.
Yeah, I guess. But
And so it's a pun.
I think
And
it may also be a slight prod at like the fact that like so many people when they first heard about Gaimon, it's like what? They couldn't believe what was going on.
yeah, and like Drive is like detective, and he's a race car. Or Ghost is like 2-in-1 something something or other. O's is literally stolen metals Takatora Bata.
Yeah, that one's pretty lazy. But then again, Forza also has like something or another Uchukita.
Yeah, it's
The
like
chimes for icons are kind of dumb.
yeah.
And these especially are really stupid. Anyway. But yeah, that's the Legend Rider special, and I'm just like, okay, so
Yeah, and sadly, Heisei Damashii is just a rebrand of Grateful.
yeah, basically, it's just a prototype of Grateful.
There was one thing that really pissed me off.
What?
In the fight when he's using the different rider powers, he uses Blade and Decade to summon cards.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. That
But
was actually
not Ryuki, and that's the thing that pissed me off. It's like,
well,
if you're using the card riders, why not Ryuki?
well, let's just be honest here. Blade and Decade's cards were better than Ryuki's. Also,
Yeah,
what's
but
Ryuki?
still, if you're going to include both of the guys that use cards and all the riders that are super fast, Faiz, Drive, and Kabuto, use all the ones that use cards. How hard would it have been to say Ryuki?
I don't know. If maybe they were just making
Maybe
fun
they
of
just forgot because everyone wants to forget Ryuki.
the maybe. And I did like how with the Kiva one, you actually see him like flipping around a little bit the way Kiva used to
Yeah,
fight.
that was nice. I was like, yeah, but we won't get that damn figure art, though.
How
Like
long?
I said, Bandai and Tamashii Nations and everyone in Japan, I'll stop when it happens. Because I don't like Emperor form. I'm sorry. It kills the Kiva idea of the giant metal fucking leg. That's literally the only reason I don't like it, but I understand why it had to be, because of the suit actor.
And ironically, that's my favorite Kiva form. But anyway, yeah, so that's the Legend Rider thing, and honestly, I still don't understand what Frey and Freyr are supposed to be, other than they're borrowing names from Norse deities.
Yeah,
That's literally the only thing I.
that's the only thing I know too, and that's weird.
Yeah, it's like, why, first of all, why are you borrowing those names? Number one. Number two, why did that one Ultima call you guys bugs? Like, what the heck does that mean? And secondly, why are you acting like gun misers in the main program? Like, what are you?
Oh,
Someone just
get
had a revelation.
they're bugs
Well, that's what they refer to them as.
in a system, not bugs as in insects.
Yeah.
They're bugs in the Great Eye system. That's why the Ultima was hunting them down. Because they were trying to do something or other to undermine whatever the hell's going on. If that's literally the thing, that's... I'm so glad I play video games. Oh man, this is one really bad but
I just
that
hope.
turns out to be that, I swear to God. I'm just going to be like, okay, so then next stage, is going to do this, that, the other thing. They're going to have a female writer that's based on mobile gaming and uses a credit card to transform because of microtransactions.
That would be funny as
That was
hell.
a joke I made, and some people thought I was serious, and I was like, no.
That would be funny.
The joke I made was that, X8's going to have a female writer that uses a wrist morpher that looks kind of like the Apply changer, and instead of using a Gashat, it's going to use a thing that looks kind of like a credit card.
That would be amazing.
You'd be surprised at people that thought I was serious. Especially from the people we know.
That's funny. Anyway, but so yeah, what is the deal with these two? Hopefully the main show will actually explain it, but then again, they've just been sitting on the sidelines. Takaru and his crew haven't run into them at all. And everyone's
Who,
seen them, except for, like,
yeah,
Alan.
who knows? Maybe they're fucking Takaru's mom at this point. Jesus Christ.
That's a whole different storyline entirely.
Yeah.
Anyway, so yeah, that was that. I don't understand the story for that, but whatever. Anyway, and with that, that is our program. So thank you for listening / watching if you're on YouTube. Although I don't know why you'd really be watching it. It's still just audio, but whatever. So thank you for joining us, and we will see you guys next time. Goodbye and good night.
Adios.